All right, guys. We should be live now. Very good. Well, welcome everyone to our very first Think Fast interview prep. And we're going to get this, it's live streaming now across Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So we are excited to be here. I have a really great group of job seekers and people who want to practice their interview skills, as well as a great group of experts and evaluators that are going to help us prepare for interviews. This kind of came about when I was attending Toastmasters. I recently joined the Toastmasters International Club at Bethesda because I want to work on my presentation skills. That is something that's really important to me. I have a tendency to think too fast or to talk too fast, and I stumble over my words when I'm not prepared. So I wanted to improve that. At Toastmasters, I saw them do something called table topics, and I really was excited about it, where they present a topic. They give you 1 to 2 minutes to answer the question, and then they move on to the next person. I really started thinking about how, as interviewers, many of us struggle when we're forced to think on our feet and come up with answers to questions we were not prepared for. So I wanted to open this up to get our job seekers and people out there who are working on interview skills in the habit of answering questions in 1 to 2 minutes. So we want at least 1 minute to have good substance in our answers, and no more than 2 minutes, because here in the Western culture, our attention spans are about 2 minutes. So, and this is not getting better with new generations, right? That is not, because our worlds just move very, very quickly. So in that, I would like to introduce our panel of evaluators, and I'm just going to kind of go down my list here. I know Alicia is currently traveling home from work. She's nice enough to be here with us, so I'm going to come back to her at the end, and hopefully she'll be back home at that time. Let's start with Pam Roberts.
Hi, I'm Pam Roberts. I'm an IT director for Baylor Scott and White Health, so I'm really excited to be here with you today. I've probably interviewed between 3,000 and 4,000 people in my career.
She is known for her unique interview questions. So if she comes up with something today, guys, just go with it. Foster Williams, will you introduce yourself? And while you are doing that, this Think Fast interview prep is a combination of, it's brought to you by Maximize Your Job Search, the Who You Know Career Transition Summit, and a really amazing group called the Career Search Network. So if you will introduce yourself and tell a little bit about the Career Search Network.
Sure. Hey, everybody, I'm Foster Williams. They call me the Job Father. That makes me sound old. I think I'll skip that one. Okay, now I like it. Guys, I am a longtime recruiter, and over the years of I retired from corporate America back in 2001, created the Career Search Network, which is a network that endeavors to help job seekers know the people they need to connect with, why they need to connect, how it all works in today's world. And we've had a great number of changes due to the pandemic. And so we like to stay on the cutting edge. Andy Cook and I are on the Job Father Job Networking Radio every Tuesday, along with the Who You Know Job Networking Show every Wednesday. We have been blessed that God has given us a wonderful tools to provide help in this gigantic network. We are the largest job seeker network that we know anything about. There are all sorts of facets all around the Career Search Network, as it is 20 years old now. And there have been tons and tons of people that have landed jobs due to the network and through the network. And we have wonderful people that are looking to pay it forward to help other people that are behind them get a job. And so that's probably the biggest benefit miracle of the network. There are many, believe me, you should get involved. And I'm Foster Williams. I'm going to shut up now.
Thank you, Foster. All right, Sid Cody.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Sid Kotti, and I am a global vice president of human resources. I've been in HR for over 20 years, and I started my career out as a recruiter. And now I have the whole responsibility of the HR department, and I love it. I love HR. I breathe HR. I've interviewed tons of people. I, like Pam, have very strange questions. For example, if you were shag carpet, what color would you be and why? So I love to hear people answer that. So once again, welcome everyone. I'm looking forward to this. And once again, Sid Kotti.
It sounds so much better when you say it. Thank you, Sid.
Thank you.
Antonio.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Antonio Moore. I am the Diversity and Inclusion Senior Business Partner with Advanced Local Media. We're one of the largest media companies in the U.S. I've been in HR now for the last 8 years. I have over a 20-year progressive work history. So I've interviewed quite a few people. Pam, I was trying to do the math before she called on me, but there's no way that I'm going to be able to catch that number. But but I have my fair share. But along with Sid, I love HR. The last 8 years of HR, I started out as a recruiting consultant. I've worked also as a talent acquisition manager, and now my primary focus is diversity recruiting. So very, very excited, working in the recruiting realm and helping individuals, roughly achieve their ultimate goal. That's where my gratification comes when Foster said it best, to pay it forward. I love helping individuals pay it forward. So once again, Antonio Moore, Diversity and Inclusion Senior Business Partner with Advanced Local Media. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, and Paul Klotz.
Hey everybody, I'm Paul Klotz. I'm a Chief Operating Officer for startup, early stage, and fast growth companies, usually in the tech space. I have interviewed at least 1,000 people in my career. And my typical role in the interviewing process is to try to let people know honestly what they're really going to be in for if they get this job, and to not scare them away, but give them the truth, let them know what the challenges are going to be, and be as honest as I can about what they're in for. Thanks.
Very good, very good. And Elisha, if you would tell a little bit about who you are and just a little bit about Toastmasters and kind of the principles behind Table Topics.
Well, I am probably the only person on the panel that doesn't have hundreds or thousands of interview people behind my belt. I think I might have done 3 interviews, but I'm in a different role. I do enjoy really coaching and helping people identify the barriers between what's the message that they're trying to communicate, not just spoken, but in their profession or in how they're living. And to me, that ties in really well with Toastmasters. I've been a part of Toastmasters for about 10, 12 years now. And one of my favorite parts is really just that mentoring and partnership, like I said. One of the things that Toastmasters is built on is the individual process of reaching your goals to be a better communicator. And the difference in those goals will be as numerous as the people in the room. So all of us are going to have different starting points in our communication styles, and all of us will have different things that we need to work on and different strengths that we bring into it. Kind of like Andrea, when I got into Toastmasters, my goal was to communicate my message and eventually get into speaking more. But I always envisioned this really bad cartoon of the person who starts falling down a hill covered in snow. And the more speed they get, the bigger the human snowball gets. And even if the audience wasn't derailed, I let myself be derailed. And it cost me my message. And that's one of the things that I really like with Toastmasters is we're looking for what are the barriers to help you communicate your message. In this situation, I can't imagine anything more profitable than you communicating your message well, because the stakes are high. You're trying to land that job. But really, when we come down to the root, it's more than just snatching one particular job. It's communicating your message effectively. So you've heard us throw around some terms tonight about feedback and tweaking and evaluating. And that's one of the things that I wanted to speak to as well. We're here to give feedback, but it's not a grade. And so it's not like you passed or failed, or no one's going to say, hey, Foster, you totally bombed that question. Foster, I knew you were safe to throw your name out there, but it's really not. It's about, one of the things we're going to look for is what's something you did well, what's something that you can tweak, again, to make your message more clear, more concise, and more effective in what you're trying to communicate. So that's what we're going to be watching for tonight. And for those of y'all that are familiar with Toastmasters, you're probably recognize that. That's kind of the motto of everything they do, but particularly the table topics. For those of you guys that are new, don't worry about it being new. Just answer the best you can, and we'll give you some tools to help your message be better heard.
Very good. Thank you so much, Alicia. Alicia recently earned the Achievement of Distinguished Toastmaster, which is the highest level of Toastmaster. So I invited her here to kind of be an expert on communication and delivering powerful messages in short amounts of time. So very, very good. We are going to begin now talking to our panel of interviewees. And in this first round, we're going to take it really easy on you and just ask you to tell about yourself. I'm going to pick on John Allen first. John Allen, can you tell about yourself?
I sure can, Andy, or I can give it a shot. I have been in IT my entire career, and I specialize in bridging that gap between the technologists and the different business lines. I started programming when I was in high school, and on through college, even taught 8th grade computer science while I was in college, and I've been in IT my entire career. Right now, what I'm looking for is an IT business partner, which is kind of a new term in IT. You might hear business relationship manager, business partner. It's communication between technology and the people who use it, essentially. So I've also gone back to school now that my kids are a little older and almost on their own. So I'll be finishing up my master's at the end of next May, about a year from now. And I'm looking forward to utilizing it and maybe moving around the country a little bit.
Thank you, John Allen. All right. So I just want to kick off feedback with saying you articulate very well. I love that you built in some pauses there. The only thing, just as a coach, I'm going to tell you, because I know this about you, even though a lot of people don't. I know you downplay where you're going to school, but I personally am impressed that you're going to school at Harvard, and think everybody that you interview with needs to know that too. And so I would just say, weave that in with your message that, hey, I'm back in school, but don't be afraid to mention that it's at Harvard, right? I think that's really, really impressive. And you have a lot to be proud of with that. So I'm going to go over to our other evaluators, and let's start with Pam.
So John, I thought it was a really good message. We also in healthcare use the business relationship manager. So we have series of those people that are assigned to different hospitals and work with the hospital president and be that liaison between IT and what the end users use. So I think that it's a really good field that you're going to. It's a very needed, because as IT is taking on different roles, then you're providing that service. So I think just play into that is building the relationships between the end user and the technology. But I thought, again, it was very, like Andrea said, it was very articulate. And I liked that you were able to weave in that you were continually expanding your role and getting your master's, because some of the things when you say, like, I can say I have X amount of years in an industry, and many times what they hear is, oh, she's old. So I like what you did there, is that you have this experience, but you're continually improving your skills, and that you wove that in there, that yes, not only are you bringing to the table this vast experience, but you are also improving yourself and doing that. So I thought that that was a really good tie-in.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And for those who don't know, my family is rebellious and they don't call me Andy. So when you hear them call me Andrea, that's my actual name that my mom gave me, and I can't argue with her because she gave it to me. So anyway, for those of you who didn't know that about me, let's go over to Foster.
Okay, guys, as a longtime recruiter, I don't want to tell you guys how long I've been recruiting. As a longtime recruiter and the founder of a network, I am immediately, when I'm hearing a person, not just John, but anybody, I'm listening to how they articulate what it is that they're looking for, because I'm thinking in my head, I have a number of companies, relationships, that's my number one word, relationships that I have that I may be able to introduce John to companies, people, and certain ideas and things that can boost what he's already looking for. Being a net weaver, and many of us group leaders across the United States are thinking the same thing. So I want to know what to say about John. I want to make sense when I'm introducing John to an Andy Cook or a Pam Roberts or whoever it is. I want to be able to say, this is why I think you guys should meet John. And then, of course, I'm going to put some intangibles in there as well, because that's the people side of things. But these are the things that I'm thinking about as a net weaver, as someone in a network that is looking to pay it forward to try to help John. Who can I connect John with that makes sense? Relevance is another good R word to have in your job search. So, John, I think you did a wonderful job of saying what it is that you do. I immediately would know, and because I do know you, like Andy, I've had a previous relationship with you. If I did not know you, I would already have 2 or 3 people that I wanted to introduce you to that were at leadership levels in corporations in the IT arena, because I've gleaned that from your experience, from what you just shared with us. So I think that was excellent. I agree with Ms. Pam. That was an excellent display of what it is you want to do, where you've been, and how to apply it.
Thank you,
Very
Foster.
good. Thank you so much. Sid?
Yeah, hi there, John.
Hello.
You started off strong, and I loved it. And I echo what Pam and Foster said. And I also loved the fact that you weaved in just a little bit of personal in there. You told me you had children, and so I really liked that because it makes you human. And so I think altogether you did a great job.
Thank you, Sid.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Antonio?
I would say most definitely, John, you did a great job. Echoing everyone else, the one thing that stood out to me as a recruiter, if I'm sitting across the table from you, what you developed was confidence. And you showed me that you were very confident in not only who you are, but also in your skill set. And that's what recruiters, that's what, hiring managers want to know, is that you're knowledgeable of not only the industry, but also of yourself and your history. I love the way that you started out and you walked me through, your history as for where you are, where you're going, where you were, where you are, and where you're going. You told the story. So now roughly we've connected in some sort of way that can lead to further conversation down the road. I do agree with Andy, it's great, you're going back to school, you're furthering your education. I mean, you're strengthening your skill set. So don't be afraid to mention where you're going, your university, because someone may be sitting across the table who attended the same university, and that's another way to connect. So you always want to look for those ways to find that connection with, your hiring manager or someone within that organization that can most definitely help you get in the door. So great job.
Thank you, Antonio.
Thank you, Antonio. All right, Paul.
John Allen, I think you have great presence. You have leadership presence. So you're calm, you're collected, you're confident, and you know what you're talking about, and you're not thrown off by what's going on here or having an interview question in front of a panel of people. I think that's really good. You did say my entire career twice, which made me feel like maybe you're in the second half or the backside of your career a little bit, but you reeled that back in with your reference to going for your master's degree. So I would just, things people near my age bracket, and I don't think you're in my age bracket, but people near my age bracket don't want to say they've been in business for X number of years and don't want to reference my entire career too many times, because you can run into ageism. Also, I wasn't sure what degree your master's is. Is it an IT master's or is it an MBA master's? But all in all, you're clearly a strong, capable professional. I think you did a great job.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate that.
Great feedback. Alicia?
One thing I'm going to agree with Andy on is if I were going to school at Harvard and it didn't involve Harvard, Texas, but like the real Harvard University, I think I might lead every conversation with, did I mention Harvard? Okay, I mean, you don't want to be obnoxious with it, but
Right.
totally own that. Totally own that. Because to me, what that's going to communicate to an employer is that you have a competitive skill that allowed you to get into a highly competitive program. And you don't have to be a snot about it to mention that. Someone that's familiar with those programs is going to know that you're already at the top of applicants for your field in the fact that you've got into that program. So dude, totally own that. But also something that I might throw out, and again, I'm going to defer to the other experts in here, but I know sometimes people are concerned when they're looking at people going for higher education. Are you just using this opportunity as a stepping stone? So when you mention going for your higher degree, you might add a sentence about, and here's what I'm looking forward to bringing in this role or in this position here. So they know that you're not just trying to step on them to get to the next position, but it's tying in the past that you've referenced, the strengths and the skills that you're bringing, but also that you see a future involving you in this company. And here's why they should be really honored to be seeing your face.
Excellent. Thank you, Alicia.
Thank you, everyone. That was great. I appreciate it. Let's move on to our other person who has had the chance to pilot this. So I'll pick on you, Lori. Lori, tell us about yourself.
Hi, I'm Lori Oken from Chicago, and I am a professional program manager with an eagle eye to detail. I've been lucky to be in both sectors of the world, the nonprofit and the for-profit sector, and both have served me well, although I have a passion for the nonprofit sector. My passion is bringing customized training, resources, and services to executives through either virtual or face-to-face training, which we are almost there. You go get you, COVID. And I can't wait to accelerate my love for developing leaders and giving them the tools and the resources and the tangible takeaways that they need to bring forth relevant ideas and ways to make their organizations succeed in this new post-COVID world. What I'm looking for is a job in your excellent organization that not only shows compassion for those folks out there in the nonprofit sector, but internally as well with your employee staff and admiration for camaraderie and those folks with diverse backgrounds. I just finished my diversity, equity, and inclusion certification course. And I'll tell you, there's nothing that beats a diverse organization. I am really proud to have interviewed with you, and I really look forward to the next steps in this process. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Very good. I love that you included some topics that are really relevant right now, like your new D&I certification. I think that is very relevant. And I look for that to open the doors to further questions about how you plan to utilize that as a program manager and how that certification will support your efforts. and kind of what does diversity mean to you? So I think it'll open the door. Be prepared for further questions about that. But I think it was really smart to include that. Very good. Pam, you have feedback?
Lori, I enjoyed hearing it. It was a good story. The only thing that I would say that you've got this new certification kind of blended with my previous experience and what value that you could bring to that organization, because it sounds like you have some valuable skills that they have to be able to identify with. So good job.
Thank you. Foster?
Lori, I love listening to what you do. And since I have listened to you for a while, I was listening to where a better place to apply your skill set. One thing that I would do, and it's a suggestion as a recruiter, be a little bit more of, bring out a little bit more of, as your program manager, you are going to make sure that everybody understands that program. Different facets of leadership is going to understand that program. Make sure that you tell companies in the interviews that you have worked with leaderships, different leadership styles, and you gather what they say to help you put together what your next level of communication is going to be, so that you can move forward with the very program that you're trying to implement through that company. That would be my feedback. Everything else is great. I love that accent, because obviously I got a Texas accent. I got University of Texas colors on here, don't I?
Thank you, Foster. Sid?
All right, Lori, hi there. Okay, so for me, I just kind of got lost a little bit with your story. I wanted it to be a little bit more concise, I think. I was looking for what you bring to the organization, but I couldn't really put my finger on it, because your passion of having a position in a nonprofit organization kind of overshadowed that for me a little bit. But I loved the fact that you are very passionate. It came through loud and clear, but I would like to see a little bit more of that, of what can you do for me? And sort of like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what can you do for our organization? So that's where I was coming from.
Perfect. Great feedback. Sid, we talk a lot about companies hire because you solve problems for them. So I love that feedback. And I think that's something for all of us to remember. Very good. Antonio?
Lori, I think you did a wonderful job. You've got a great story. You've got, the experience and how you tied it in. I think you did a great job. What I would like to see is, at first, it seemed that you were very, I'm going to use this term because I'm a former athlete. So, and I know how comfortable it is. So I use it. So confidence. You have to have confidence. You perform better when you have more confidence. And it seemed a little lacking at the beginning. I noticed that you were looking down. So it sort of distracted me, because at first you sounded a little scripted. And I want to see Lori. I want to know Lori, you write it out just like your resume. Know your resume like the back of your hand when you go into an interview, because you may get asked about it. So this question, or any question, I know, this is on the spot, but continue to work on this, because this is the key to the interview. Telling me about yourself, what you're going to bring. The one part, being a diversity and inclusion senior business partner, I got excited when you talked about D&I, but then it fizzled out because you said you're excited about it. Tell me what it means to you. I took the training. What did you learn from the training, and how can you apply it to this organization, or how have you applied it in the past? That will be a tremendous, step in the door there for continued conversation, especially if you're going into an organization and they're pressing, their diversity programs. Great way to say, hey, you can add value to, after you've done their research, after you've done your research. Another part, I don't think it was bad, but I just want to make sure that you don't get confused, because this tell me about yourself is sort of like a lead-in question. It's sort of like the first question I'll ask you when you sit down. I know at the very end, you were asking like you were finishing up, and you were like, so tell me what the next steps in the process will be. So, it was great. But I called, I was like, well, hold on, this is the first question. So we haven't talked about anything yet. So, but no, just great job. I would love to see more confidence in yourself. Look in the camera. Tell me about you. I want to know Lori. I want to see Lori. You're smiling right now. You didn't smile during your entire presentation. So I want to see that smile, because that smile exhibits your personality, because you're going to be working with me. You're going to be working with my team. And I want to make sure that you're a great fit, not only by your skill set, but also your character, your personality, and integrity that you're bringing as well. So overall, great job. You've got a great story to tell. Thank you.
Very good, Antonio. Very observant, because Lori and I have talked a little bit about this. Lori, the only time you do not smile, literally the only time, is when you're reading. So when you look down is the only time you lose that smile. So great observation from Antonio, who's never been around you. I thought that was really smart, and good pickup on that final kind of how we put a bow on it and closed it out. Paul, what do you have?
I want to go first next time, because everybody's already said everything.
Fair enough. I'll switch it up.
Really, seriously though, I love your energy. When you look at the camera, you make a great connection. So when you're reading, it takes away from that. And I think we've said it already, that it was clear that you were reading some. And I've talked to you enough times where you don't need to read. You can just speak. And so everything everybody else said, and I love your energy, and keep up the eye contact. Thank you.
I love it. Thank you so much. Elisha?
Couple of words that I'm going to throw out for you to consider. When you said that you had an eagle eye for detail, for people who love detail, that's great. For people who have not necessarily had positive experiences only with people who are so super detailed, I think that can be a red flag. It's one of those things that can be taken different directions. So when you talked a couple of times about your passion and detail, I want to make sure that you can separate it, that your passion isn't for detail, but that you can identify and succeed with the detail in the field that you're passionate about. Does that make sense?
Great feedback, Alicia. What I think on that, Lori, too, is if you throw in some words like flexible or adaptable, that may kind of offset, and great pickup, Elisha, but something like that may weave it in, or a passion for using, detail-oriented procedures, process improvements, but you can weave that descriptor in with something that may tie it to not just kind of proofreading kind of details, but that when you analyze a process, you pick up the little things. So
when you started talking about the team, then it made it seem a little softer, because it showed that you are looking at working well and playing well with others. But that just is something, when you're looking at how to communicate your message, I would be careful on how some of those things can be taken two different directions.
Thank you, Alicia. Very good. All right, let's switch over, and I will reverse the feedback of the evaluators, Paul. Hey, Bryce, can you tell us about yourself?
Of course. Hello, I'm Bryce McFadden. I'm an instructional facilitator. So what that means is I facilitate instruction through the creation of material, of my curriculum and instruction. And I pretty much implement that instruction for students who are 7 years old, all the way to about 65 years old. So I really enjoy developing that curriculum for those learners. It's a big passion of mine. I love seeing things go from beginning to end, and just creating that framework, that outline of learning. Seeing where you were to then seeing where you come from that point has really been a strong point for me. It's an excitement piece for me. Recently, I got my master's in instructional design, which that was a pretty big task for me. I spent, instead of 2 years putting it together, I went 1.5 years in my program. So that was a pretty big accomplishment with a full-time job and 2 little ones. With the help of my wife, of course, taking the evening shifts and whatnot. So from that point, I really look forward to going into a learning development type facilitation program where I'm able to encourage or create new content that furthers the learning of all involved. Thank you.
Bryce, that was perfect. I expected greatness from you because what Bryce didn't mention and wouldn't come up during an interview is that he's been an educator during COVID. So he has lived on Zoom during this time. So great job. I thought that it was really smart the way you weaved in your degree and how you talked about instructional design and engaging people of all ages. What I would coach you on is, when you cap out at 65, if the person that is interviewing you is above 65, you just lost them, right? And that's also a sensitive age bracket. So go ahead and take that up to either don't give a number. So from 7 years old to the very final day of someone's career, right? You can, or from beginning of education to retirement, you can broaden it out a little bit without alienating a group because of a number. But I thought it was great. Let's go to Alicia. You want to give feedback here?
I actually thought the same thing. I think this is a really good example of our panel has a diverse age group, but I'm not going to ask how many of them are close to the top of the age bracket that you mentioned. So like Andy said, I think you should aim high, even if you throw a ridiculous number, from 7 to 133. Obviously, haven't had a lot of students at 133, but you're nowhere close to stepping on someone's toes, because I don't think you want to start the interview with, man, you're old. Now about me. So something to watch for that. Also, this is just a little personal feedback. As someone who's hard of hearing, it was hard to hear you at first. In fact, it kind of sounded like you had fallen into a well. And then I don't know if you positioned a little different, but it got a little easier to understand. So when we're talking about barriers to your message, just being able to be clearly heard, I think is something that you might want to factor in. But your energy was great. You came on, you communicated very strong. Your cadence in communication was really strong, and not everyone looks at the rhythm in which they're communicating. And so you had an excitement where it was faster, but not annoyingly fast, but you also had some good pauses. So a good cadence in your communication.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia. Paul?
I'm gonna dogpile on the 65 because that's my neighborhood, and it was distracting. I just have to admit, it was distracting all the way up to 65. It was kind of distracting for me. I also thought so I liked the second half better than the first half because it seemed like you were building momentum at the beginning. You were like just getting warmed up, and I think maybe that's also why we didn't hear you that well at the beginning. But once you got going, you relaxed and you were even thinking, right? I could see you not just talking, but thinking about what you were going to say. And I like that you talked. I'm really glad you explained what an instructional facilitator is, because I didn't know what that meant, and I wouldn't have known what that meant. I've never met you before, so now I feel like I do have a little bit of a feel for who you are, and I think you did a good job communicating what type of person you are and what you'd be like to be around a little bit. So I thought that was great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Antonio?
Bryce, I think you did a great job. I agree. It was, going back to Alicia, it's sort of like that snowball. You started off and then you continue to, as you continue to build confidence through that, you started to get, bolder. Your voice even changed in that sense. So that's when you captured my attention at that point. I really like the way, to Paul's point, you clearly explain what it is you do and how you do it in that sense, because that's important, because it talks about, basically you're explaining how you're going to add value, with the skill set in which you have. One thing that stood out to me is I like the way you tied your family into it as well. As I pick up on these little things because it means a lot, when you're having these conversations, and you talked about, your family, because now that's going to be an additional conversation. You're speaking with, hey, this he's a family man, or if you're at the table and you're speaking about religion, or, I know some people try to stay away, but once again, you never know who you're going to be speaking with. And it's all about connecting with them. But that was the connection when you spoke about your family, because then we're going to talk about, so how many kids do you have? What's their age groups, and, and things of that nature. Now I'm building a relationship with you. And that's what it's about, is building a relationship. Employers are just like businesses. They do business with people they trust. And this is the opportunity where you're going to develop, that trust is at the table. Overall, great message, great confidence, eye contact, your delivery. Once you hit that point, you were good to go. First, the end of the first half through the second half, you had my attention, and I'm ready to start answering questions because I want to learn more about Bryce and how you can help my organization. So great job.
Thank you.
Perfect. I'm actually going to switch it up just a little bit because I don't want us to run out of time and not get to our other panelists. So on the next person, I'll have Sid, Foster, and Pam give feedback, and let's alternate it a little bit that way so that we can kind of pick up some traction there, guys. The next person I'm going to call on to introduce herself is Sunil.
Hi, this is Sunil Shankar. I've been working as a quality assurance engineer for the past 16 years. I would say I'm a critical thinker, and I come up with out-of-box solutions for the complex applications. Recently, I led a team of 14 software engineers, which I mentored them, coached them to lead the project milestone. And I obtained a bachelor's of computer science in engineering. I'm pursuing my ISTQB certification to enhance my skills and to grow in my career. That's about me. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunil. I really liked when we practiced this before, one of the areas was slowing down that speech cadence, and you did that brilliantly. And so I thought that the cadence of your message was very clear and it was easy for me to follow. So thank you so much for that. Sid, let me go to you for feedback.
Okay, Sunil, so I loved everything you just said, how you said it. It makes me want to ask you 1,000 other questions. And since I am hiring for quality assurance, I'd like to talk to you real time after this call.
Sure, I would love to.
So I had a lot of questions. I really enjoyed your whole 30-second spiel. I thought you hit every single thing. You nailed it. For as far as I'm concerned, you nailed it. Like I said, I now want to ask you, do you have manufacturing experience? What type of manufacturing? And do you have automotive certifications, ISO? Let's connect on a serious note. Let's connect. I am hiring for a senior quality engineer. I'd love to talk to you afterwards.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Perfect. Sid, I will send you his resume right after this. Perfect. All right. Foster, you have feedback?
I love that. I love what Sid said, because that's what we're here for. That's what the network exists for. And Sunil, you're very concise and direct with what you do. I like that. We're always looking for a place to where, okay, who, from Foster's standpoint, who can I connect Sunil to? Who would understand Sunil? And you put it out there, what you did, and you put it very succinctly and you put it very clearly. And of course, Sid heard that. Now, I've known Sid a number of years too. So for me to hear her get excited about what she heard, I'm just in total agreement with Sid about you. Everything Sid said, I agree.
Thank you.
Very good. Pam?
I really loved hearing you talk about it. The only thing my coaching would be is smile more. After the interview is over, you opened up and smiled, in that warm, engaging smile. Whoever you're interviewing with, they need to see that too. I did like how, just like Sid mentioned, that you told us what the size of the team, and it wanted, what kind of responsibilities that they had. But I also liked how you addressed your continual improvement by you're seeking more certifications. So overall, good job. Just smile more.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much. All right. On this one, I would like to go to Tanya.
Hello. So my career started with vendor management, vendor payment management within the banking industry. And throughout my career, I realized my strong ability or natural ability to build relationships with people. And so it became a passion of mine. And so honing my passion has allowed me to advocate for stakeholders and their need to succeed successfully, internal and external. So in my current position, my role as a transition specialist, I have been able to bring my passion for building relationships into the commercial real estate industry space. I have built relationships with cross-functional teams within the multi-markets that I service, thus affording me the pleasure of receiving a kudos recognition from leadership. Now that I have acquired my PMP certification, I have been able to utilize some of the methodologies in that space, although not required. I would love moving forward. I'm here today to seek an opportunity in a position that would allow me to utilize the project management methodologies and be able to expand on that experience and fully utilize the project management principles that I have learned thus far. And so I'm here today and I'm ready for more. Thank you.
Great job, Tanya. So one thing I will tell you, if you read that, I didn't know it. So that was really good. Your cadence was good. It didn't sound scripted. I could tell a few times when you were kind of going, okay, what was my checklist? What did I want to say next? There were just a little of those few moments, but for the most part, I really thought that it didn't sound scripted. It sounded authentic. You provided great details about your certification, how it relates to your experience. I loved the way you weave that together. So for feedback on this one, I'm going to go to Pam first.
So Tanya, I agree with Andy, that you had a great cadence. Again, you had good facial expression. I liked how you were able to weave in the importance of the building the business relationship. And obviously, it's if you were applying for a specific position, you could detail how you could interact that more, but that you also show that you had your PMP and your certification. So you're qualified to do it. And then you have proven success in building the relationships. So I think that it was great feedback. I'm sorry, not great feedback, but great introduction. And then it's awkward when it's vague and you don't have a specific position. But if it was a specific position, that you could tie those two together.
Very good. Thank you. Sid, I'm going to go to you on this one as well.
Hey, Tanya. So you kept me in suspense. I kind of liked that. You kind of build the little building blocks, and then you kind of said, hey, I'm in commercial real estate, and this is how I utilized my skills. So I kind of like that because you really forced me to listen. And I really like the cadence of how you just kind of went through the whole thing. And I echo what Pam said. I like the fact that you kind of put everything together for us. So you didn't make me work too hard, because one thing we all know is that recruiters are lazy, no offense, but we want to get to things quickly and we want things bulleted. And I think you did that really well. So, so that would be my feedback. The only other thing is I can only see from, I don't know if it's just on my camera, I can only see from your chin up, and I'd like to see a little bit more of maybe your shoulders. So I'd like to see a little bit more of you. That would be my only tweak.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Paul, I would like your feedback here.
So Tanya, I've never met you before, but I can tell you already, I like you. I like the way you speak. I like your energy. I would agree that you should have a little less space above your head, because I had the same thing. I couldn't really see the bottom part of your face. And you also look like you're looking up a little bit into the camera instead of straight into it. And by the way, I'm on networking calls. I'm also in job search, and I'm on networking calls like this all the time. And I get beaten up about my background and my lighting and where my head is in the screen. So the more you do this, the more people are going to say that kind of stuff to you. And just take it for what it's worth. It's distracting to some people and not at all to others. So all in all, I really liked you. I want to know more about you. I love that you work PMP in there because that's a significant achievement, a PMP. And yeah, altogether, I just like to know more about you. So that was great. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Paul. That was great feedback. All right, I'm going to go to Sherry here.
Hi, well, thanks for allowing me to introduce myself. I graduated Texas A&M University and immediately went into commercial real estate, specifically with ownership side real estate investment companies. I started my career in accounting and figured out soon that I needed a little more socialization in my life. So I moved out from behind my computer and got more involved in asset management and creating value for the assets, which we either acquired or developed from scratch. I have a very unique skill set in that I have witnessed the life cycle of multifamily assets, from standing in a cornfield and trying to sell a development deal to partners all the way through disposition of assets. My experience is in all types and classes of real estate, multifamily real estate, anything from Class A to Class C assets, value add assets, ground up development, student housing, senior housing, and various other mixed use developments. I'm really looking for the opportunity to join a stable, growing organization and lend my expertise in all aspects of multifamily real estate to that organization, looking to partner with a great company that will allow me to continue to grow my career and contribute to the success of the organization.
Thank you so much. I thought you were very clear. You told a great story. I think you did fantastic, especially since you had all of about 30 minutes before this call to prep and get ready. You look beautiful. You did great. And so I'm really proud of you for that. And thank you for jumping in and being willing to participate with us. Let's go to feedback from Foster.
Okay, Sherry, it's good that I don't know you already. A lot of people, because I've been around the network for so long, I know a lot of people and am already in a relationship with, but I know that you being interested in the asset end will definitely pull you from behind that computer and socialize you a little bit. I like that because that's the kind of person I am. And believe it or not, I used to be an introvert, and boy, that changed. But I like the way you explain why you wanted to get into what you're in right now. And I think that you would bring that, not only the social part, but you bring some excitement to what could be a mundane sport, so to speak. And so I like the way that you put that. Definitely smile more. Let us see your teeth. I tell job seekers that all the time. Show me your teeth, and your eye contact and all that is wonderful. So I would want to dig into a little bit more of why, and this is just me personally, what made you want to get from behind the computer and get a little bit more social? I hear people through interviews, because Lord knows how many people I've interviewed over that period, that number I'm trying to avoid telling you guys that I've been a recruiter. But what I like to do is hear what you guys say and then dig into those things that I think are important to my team or whatever it is that I am as a person. I think we just normally do that as a normal participle of living anyway.
Good. Thank you so much, Foster. Elisha.
I like how you tied in not just how you were wanting to build your career, but what you felt like you could bring to the agency. I feel like that's a really important thing, especially when you come in very, I don't want to say secure, but just when you're coming in and talking about how you feel you're qualified for the position, I think it's also really good to partner that with how the company is going to benefit by having you. And it's a balance to where you sound secure in your skills, but you don't sound unapproachable or vain. And I thought you did a good job in getting that balance in what you could bring. So I enjoyed what you were able to communicate, and I felt like you brought a lot to what you were saying in a short time. So well done.
Thank you.
So much, Antonio.
Hi, Sherry. I would say nice presentation, excellent presentation. I will change that. I think you did a great job, from introducing what you do. To Foster's point, I would love to hear, more of what was that transition for, like tie that in, I'm getting it from behind the desk because, I know you mentioned sociable, but what was the end point on that? I think you're very knowledgeable. I have no idea what you do. This asset management, you were naming all these different classes and, but that lets me know that you're very knowledgeable about what you do, and being able to tie those in as to how you can actually bring that and how it can help, an organization, say you're interviewing with. There was one part, I'm trying to think what it was, but it was the teamwork. Yeah, what you do, what you've done, and how you can actually tie it into improving, the organization. I love that. You nailed it. Make sure you keep that in your presentation because it screams teamwork. And every organization is looking for that individual, with strong teamwork capabilities in that sense or whatever. So overall, I think you did a wonderful job. Great presentation. To Foster's point, smile more. I didn't, you're looking like you had a great presentation. You're there. You look very confident. Smile more because your character, and that could be the reason why you transition from the office to, out front. You want to be around. You're very personable, so let people know why you're doing what you're doing, and you made that decision because, if that's what you're going to be doing for that organization, they can be able to pick that up right away. So excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much. And so our final candidate would be Tony Pence. Tony, can you introduce yourself?
Good evening. My name is Tony Pence, Texan, born and raised, graduate with a general business degree from the University of North Texas. Still live here with my young family. The last 13 or so years, I've been in a insurance role as a client relationship manager. And what I've come to realize in that position is that I really excel in the relationship aspect of that position. And that's a part that I'm trying to continue to grow in and to utilize. And within the company that I work for now, unfortunately, being a small company, it does not allow me to pursue that type of a position and learn more of that position. And so I really work well with not only the clients and customers, but also my coworkers. I've been recognized in a lot of areas in that type of area, in that people enjoy speaking with me. I've been told that numerous times, in that they know what they're going to get from me. And so I'm trying to utilize that type of a background, that type of experience, and bring that into a new industry. I am open to an industry, and I'm not going to close any doors. I want to learn. I want to excel. I want to be an important part of a corporation that I get into. And so you won't have to worry about what I can bring, what I will do, because I will definitely bring 100% every day. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Okay, very good. So just the feedback I have on that is don't move away from what problems you solve into promises that aren't tied to something directly. So you might think about just revising the wording on that last part of maybe tie it to your work ethic, which is what I really think the message you're sending. And a way that I've done that in the past is my commitment is to be the hardest working person in the room, right? So I think you can tie it to that where it doesn't sound like just a salesy kind of promise, but it's tied to here's what you can expect from me. So just a little bit of clarity on that. I'm going to go to Sid on this one.
Hi, Tony.
Hello.
Okay, so I think you're very, very personable. You make me want to talk to you even more to learn more. A couple of things. You mentioned small company. I don't know what small is to you, but if you're interviewing with me and my company is 500, that may be large to you, small to me, vice versa. I would maybe rephrase that to the company I'm at now doesn't provide the opportunity to grow or something like that. I love the fact that you mentioned you are a quick learner. You love to learn. You definitely showed a passion for that, which I love. You showed your flexibility, your teamwork, and to what Andy said that I wrote down here was also work ethic. So you kind of weaved all of that in. So I really liked that. And so I love how you're trying to change an industry and move to a different industry. And you showed us how you want to do that by having the client relationship manager skills behind you and how that would be helpful in utilizing to move to a different industry. So overall, great job.
Thank you.
Great feedback. Paul.
Okay, so yeah, I think it's clear that you are relationship oriented. I know that about you, and I also know that you have a strong work ethic. And I would agree that those are two important points, and you could probably build a little more on those points. And I think Andy said it too. You can guarantee, be specific in that I'm going to bring 100%. It's my goal to be the hardest working person on the team. I would say stay away from what your current company doesn't offer. I don't think it has a place in the forward-looking conversation. We're talking about moving forward, and it would make me wonder if you're going to find fault with my company too. So just go forward with the positive things, and even if it's absolutely 110% true that your company doesn't offer you an opportunity to grow,
right,
just turn that into, I'm looking for, and by the way, these are really hard to do because there's not a specific job description that we're talking about, and so it would be a lot easier for you if you were able to say, I'm really interested in this job because, so don't let me overly beat you up for that, because it's kind of hard to formulate in this sort of vacuum of an environment. So anyway, stay positive, stay forward looking, talk about relationship building and work ethic and what you're going to bring to the company in the future.
Thank you.
An awesome job.
Thank you.
Perfect. So we're right at an hour, but I want to do one last exercise, as long as everybody's okay. What I want to do is do a kind of rapid fire question. Each person will answer a question briefly. I'm only going to pair them with one person for feedback. And that way we can still get that second question in, use the feedback that you've received. And that way we're only here about another 15 minutes. Is there anybody who needs to jump off because of scheduling? Okay, perfect. So let's start that really quick. Sherry, I'm going to pick on you first because I let you off the hook last time.
How did I know what's going to happen?
Paul is going to give you feedback on this one. And I would like you to tell about a time that you missed a deadline on a project. And how did you overcome that?
Well, I normally don't miss deadlines, so that would be a rare occurrence. I think if you are going to miss a deadline, I think it's very important that you communicate with whomever the recipient of that reporting or whatever your deadline is supposed to do. Communication, I think, is the key to that. Letting them know that you are going to miss the deadline, prepare them for that, and give them a deadline that would be met. And as a side note, make sure that you can actually meet that deadline. You always want to overpromise and underpromise and overdeliver. So that's really what I do. And again, that has to come from building relationships in order to be able to have that be successful and not be an impediment to your career. because some deadlines are not movable. So you have to understand that you need to meet the deadlines. And but if you're going to miss a deadline, I think it's important that you communicate that clearly and set a new deadline.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Paul, do you have feedback?
Yeah, I love that you turned that into a hypothetical as opposed to let me tell you about a time where I messed up. So I think it's great to say that you don't miss deadlines, but if I were going to miss a deadline, the communication is the most important part. So I have to communicate early and often and under promise and over deliver. I think those are all good things to say, and saying that's what you do. Great. I think that was great.
Agreed. Do any of our other evaluators want to jump in on anything? Just want to make sure. Okay. So this next one is going to be for John Allen. I'm going to have Foster give you feedback on this one. What makes you stand out among other applicants in your field with your level of expertise?
I'm sorry, you cut me off guard there. What stands out, or what makes me stand out from anybody else you may be looking at, is experience, continuing education, and genuine curiosity about what's around the corner, what that person needs, what my client needs or the company needs, internal or external client, whatever it may be. What's next? What else can we do? No matter how good you are at something, you can get better. And that's me and the company and everything. So what's next, I guess, what I'm going to ask, what I'm going to keep looking for, as opposed to the bare minimum that we're looking for.
Very good. Foster?
Okay. One thing that I like to do as a recruiter, and making the right application of your skill set to the hiring manager, because basically I'm a middleman before let's see Sid, because I know Sid, I'll make her the hiring manager. In this particular situation, we don't have a specific job that we can dig into. But from what you said, I love what you said, because I'd be able to extract from you elements that we're looking at my job that are important to us here at this company, kind of thing, and ask you which of those things would be that I would be able to extract that information you to pass on to Sid, since she's the hiring manager, because my job is to convince her, hey, Sid, you need to talk to this John Allen guy, and this is why. And I want to explain to her why she should do that by the relationship that I have with Sid, because Sid would have told me, Foster, this is what I'm looking for in this situation, and I'll know what to extract from you. I know what kind of candy that Sid likes to eat.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Foster. All right. Lori Oken, I'm going to have Pam give you feedback. What are you most passionate about in your career?
Okay, the thing that I have been most passionate about was serving volunteer leaders. Now, for those of you who don't know, volunteer leaders volunteer for either a presidency or a vice president. Like, a lot of times they just want to build their resume. However, sometimes they don't know what they don't know, and they want to micromanage the paid staff, which is usually the CEO. So in a nonprofit, sometimes these volunteers need training. And my passion was developing leadership and education programs for these volunteers. And I loved working with these volunteers. While most of the people in a nonprofit cannot stand working with these volunteers or the board of directors, I was the one who was always able to put them back in the saddle, let them think it was their, always make it think it's their idea, and they got the job done. So my passion is working with volunteers, and everyone always gave me the problem children of the volunteer ranks, because Lori could handle any difficult problem volunteer.
So I really liked how you were able to say that you're the problem solver, that you're passionate about working with people with a variety of different skill sets. The only thing I would suggest is maybe add an example, because you have, with volunteers, you have no control over their skill sets or even how much you can mandate. So just if you had one or just a small success story to say, you know, I had someone that came in that didn't have this skill set and I was able to mentor them, and then they went out and accomplished this great thing. But that's your passion, I can see that it could be really beneficial. So good job. And you smile. Good.
It's hard when we talk about passion and we're not smiling. And I thought that really showed through on your facial expression. So very good. The next question is going to be for Bryce. I think this one's too easy, so I'm going to switch it on you. So Bryce, I'm going to have Elisha give you some feedback because she comes from an instructional and training space. So what motivates you most in your career?
Currently problem solving with camera issues. So learning is pretty much what motivates me. Always trying to be the best. Sorry that you can't actually see me moving. I can dodge and weave here. So learning is pretty much what motivates me. I always want to be one of the smartest people in the room. So growing up, I never really thought of myself to be the smartest person. And everyone would always try to talk over my head. And so growing up, that was pretty much the common factor for me, was let's make sure I understand what's going on. And then that way I can actually translate it to those students or those people who don't quite understand what's happening. So my big thing is taking something that's complex and simplifying it so that not just the select few in the room will actually understand the material, but that everyone will. So I like to take complex problems and make them simple so that all the people involved will at least understand, like everyone else, all the heads up, all the smart, quote unquote, smartest people in the room. So that's my passion. That's what motivates me, is making the inclusivity of the entire problem throughout the structure.
Thank you so much. Elisha?
You ended amazingly powerful. You talked about being a translator. You talked about being an educator and building that bridge. I think in the beginning, I was kind of scared where we were heading when you were talking about wanting to be the smartest person in the room. That I wanted to make sure we weren't picturing the student that's like, Mr. Bryce, you forgot a comma on the board. So you don't want to come across as being obnoxious is all that comes to my mind. But I felt like you tied it in at the end. If I could flip it, I would totally have you put that at the beginning. That your passion from your own experience from being in an environment where you didn't understand, it gave you a passion for taking hard concepts and translating that for other people to then participate. That's a marketable skill. But if it takes it to where, why would I care about your quest for education? Because that's then something that's going to benefit me and my company.
Very good.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, Sunil, I would like to know what you do to stay current with industry trends. And your feedback is going to come from Sid. You're welcome, Sid.
I keep myself with the current trend, like attending the seminars, webinars. Recently, I had a webinar with online testing from all over the world, where people were there from Germany, Ireland, US, Croatia, Jamaica. So that is one of the things I keep doing myself to keep in the current technology. And as I mentioned earlier, like I'm trying to do the certification so that I can understand the industry much better than with my experience. So I'm doing one more certification after I complete this current one, which is always trying to keep me to the current current market, and I love to learn new things. So it's always, every day is learning. I mean, even though I have 16 years of experience, still I feel that I can learn more. So there is no end for that. And I watch a lot of YouTube seminars as well, like where people have posted, LinkedIn as well. I did some of the trainings materials there so that I can keep current myself. I'm open for more. I mean, whenever people suggest me, I get curious. I'll go Google it and see what is this. Then I dig into that so that I can understand better to enhance my career level. Thank you.
Well, Sunil, that's awesome. You built a bridge with me without even knowing it. And I am a lifelong learner. That's one of my passions, is I love to learn. I don't ever think I have the right answers to anything. I always love to go research it. And you articulated that very well, how you research it, what you do, how you did it. You also told me by that answer that you're not stuck on one solution. So you have the ability to look at multiple solutions and understand that there's might be multiple opinions. And so I really enjoyed that answer, and you did a great job of articulating that. And then, of course, you know, if we had another 20 minutes, that would take me down several different paths to ask you why and how and so on and so forth. So great job and great answer.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Tanya, because Pam is in IT, I'm going to have her give you some feedback. Tell me about a time as a project manager or in your work that you have had to resolve conflict or create buy-in.
Okay, great. It's a great question. So being in that space of working with cross-functional teams, you have differences of opinions. You have individuals that feel like things should go a certain way. And in this particular instance, I like to be the one, as I lead a transition, the one that encourages and maintains an open line of communication and make everyone feel like their voice matters and to have their best buy-in. And so that is one skill set of mine that I have, that ensuring that the common goal, which is the client, that we stay current, we stay informed, and we talk about situations or differences of, I don't want to say opinions, but talk about those differences, and then let's come to an agreement that will ultimately be that of the best interest of the customer. So I feel having that approach with working with individuals who are strong in their opinions or their thoughts helps facilitate those transitions so that we can, in the end, meet that deadline and be able to provide an outcome or a deliverable for the client for which they hired us for.
So Tanya, that was a lot of great information. And what I learned from that is that you're open to listen to everybody's opinion. The only thing that I would have you stress on that, because sometimes when everybody has an opinion, then I want to know that you're in charge, so that you have that open communication and that you're listening to everyone's opinion, but you keep focused to the plan, and that you consistently meet your deadlines and stay on focus and stay in scope. And so I think that I would stress that you don't let scope creep come in from all your various different opinions, but that you have an open communication, and then you can filter that to where people feel valued, but you still keep them in scope. That's the only, but it was good. It's just, you never know with your audience how they're going to interpret what you're saying. So if you get that blend, that yes, I am building that relationship. Yes, I am focused on the scope, and I put these two together, and I've been successful with that.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, guys. This one is going to be for Tony. And I'm going to have Antonio give you some feedback here. Tony, you are currently transitioning into something different. What are your most valuable skills that you have now that will transfer into a new opportunity for you?
It's the relationship building part of it. I'm a firm believer in constructive communication, and that I am not someone that will just try to give the company line answer when someone needs an answer or has an issue or someone just wants a question answered. I want to build a relationship with that person so they feel that they are getting the correct answer and they are understanding why that answer is what it is. And that I'm going to build a relationship and also to follow up and follow through with that person. Because I just don't want them to walk away saying, well, he gave me this answer, and that's all the answer is going to be. I want them to understand that I am here for them. And if they do not understand the reason why that answer is the way it is, they can come back to me with additional questions. Or I can follow up with them at another point in time and ask them, did that answer your question? Do you have any other issues or any other questions that I can help provide? So it's the relationship aspect of it all that person knows, whether it be a client, a coworker, whomever, knows that I am there for them and that I'll always be at that point in time and for that future.
Antonio.
All right, Tony, great job.
Thank you.
Great presentation. You're very, very firm as to what it's going to take. You know, you answered the question in totality. What I would like to see more is you were very, very confident that building that relationship is what's, going to do. How do you build that relationship? Let's look at the how. So look at how you're going to build that relationship with your team. And then also give an example, throw a quick example in there, at one point, talk about a situation where you built the relationship. What was the situation? What was the action you took? And then what was the result, of that situation? It can be really quick, but it's all about showing examples. This goes back to, I think, some of the previous feedback was, under promising and over performing, so be prepared to be able to answer those questions. I would want to know, how do you build those relationships? And then we talked about the relationship piece, but now if you're going to be transitioning to a new career, let's talk about some of your skills as well. Let's pull out some of those transferable skills, what are your strengths and the position you're applying for. Let's talk about how do those skills can transfer to a totally different industry or job that you're looking for. And don't be afraid to give a good example, because that paints the picture, as to how that's going to be able to transition. I know what you did here, but it's not going to be the same over here. So how are you going to be able to use those skills, those relationship building skills, or, those, I would say the skills that you use to do your job in that sense, hard or soft, and how are they going to apply to what you're going to do? And how is it going to benefit me? How is it going to benefit my organization on this side? So great job, but just think about the how, and then paint the picture for, the interviewer or, the hiring manager at that point as to how you're going to accomplish what they're asking for. So great job.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Perfect. Guys, I thank you so much. If everybody will stick around for just a sec, I'm going to end the live stream. We will be back next week with a brand new panel, brand new group of people being evaluated. So great job, you guys. I know this was, there were a lot of nerves, but I feel like every candidate did a great job. Evaluators, your expertise is just amazing and invaluable, and we'll continue to carry that through. So thanks so much.